Hello, welcome to episode 5 of Building Magic Polyglot Applications, the series designed to help you make the most of the modern developer tech stack, but all the while still remaining in orbit around Magic XPA, a bit like that blue man in the Chagall that Steve Martin spoke about in Roxanne. Now, application development is complicated. Front-end application development especially so, and the frameworks we might use like React, Angular, and Vue have steep learning curves. Staying current with their production-breaking changes and the sheer weight of production code can be a real challenge. When it comes to building web applications with Magic XPA, we face these exact same challenges. So today, I want to introduce you to a great small framework called HTMX, which is radically different in approach, almost polar opposite. You'll find it at htmx.org. Let's take a look. So the website describes how HTMX gives you access to AJAX. Now, AJAX are the inline background calls that the web page makes to backend APIs and services that might change the application of database state and return that updated data or HTML fragments that then update the page itself interactively without a full page refresh. Also, it goes on, it provides other things that make a modern web app work: CSS transitions, WebSockets, push subscribe notifications. Now, typically this is all done with big frameworks, lots of JavaScript, but HTMX makes all of this possible with just a few extra attributes in the HTML that you're already writing. These attributes will handle the events, behaviors, and the backend interaction we need to make things work. I bet you're going to love this when you start working with it. It's simple and elegant and deadly effective. It's an incredible reality intervenes moment and just a fantastic antidote to complexity. You can really think of this as the magic for the front-end web. So it continues with some rhetorical questions. It asks, so why is it there's only anchor and forum tags that are able to make HTTP requests? Why should only click and submit events trigger them? Why are only get and post methods available? And why should you only be able to replace the entire screen? Great questions. We're going to handle all of them. So by removing these arbitrary constraints, HTMX turns HTML into the true original vision for hypertext. HTMX has some great clean, clear examples on the site. And it's a few of these that I've rewritten to work with Magic on the back end, using a traditional HTML merge approach. All of the code for this demo, the Magic backend application, and the HTML merge templates are checked into the Magic Polyglot GitHub repository under the EP5 folder. Go get them. Let's get the demo started. Let's launch Magic XPA version 4.9 and open the MG HTMX project that's in a folder of the same name under EP5. The application has a couple of memory tables defined, just so that we can display, update, and search data in later demos. I have a setup program to create and import that data. You can see program 41, set DB data for demo, and you should manually run this once every time you open the app. I tried to keep things as simple as possible, and it doesn't run automatically. Now, the called import program loads data from a text file supplied, and you can see I've simply hard-coded the expected location. Let's run that setup program. Press F7 to execute. Now, before we even get into HTMX, I want you to test that your Magic install under IIS with the broker and requester is working, and that from the studio, you can actually run a web application. So I have program 3, Hello World, that we'll use just as a basic proof of life test. This is the simplest web page known to Magic. It's a simple expression on a text form that we pass through the requester to the browser. Let's see it work. We'll execute the project to put the studio into runtime mode, and then we'll open a browser with a new tab and go to localhost, that's 127.0.0.1/MGRQISPI.dll ? App name equals lowercase mg uppercase HTMX ampersand program name equals hello world with the H and W uppercase. Boom. Hopefully you see the same web page, hello world with a timestamp, just proving that our basic infrastructure is alive, kicking, and working. Now let's change the program name in the URL from hello world to demos, uppercase D. And you'll see a list of links for all the demos that we'll cover today. Now, when we get off the ground and into further episodes on web development, we'll make things look way, way sexier by introducing CSS frameworks like Tailwind. But right now, we are deliberately plain vanilla HTML, one thing at a time. The first example of HTMX in use is a button click demo. We click the button text changes, and it keeps a running count of how many times we've clicked. What's the big deal? Well, we didn't write any JavaScript on our page to handle this. We only added a couple of HX attributes to the button, and Magic handles all the updates on the back end. Let's look at the code. Program 11, button click demo, is the entry point. It's the simplest HTML merge program ever and uses a merge template named buttonclickdemo.html. Notice the merge templates are hard-coded. Best practice would be to use a logical name, but I just wanted to keep things simple. There's not too much to the template here. You can see a script tag that references a hosted version of HTMX. There's header text and a button that's labeled Click Me. Now, what's different about the button is that it has two HX attributes. An HX get attribute that issues a GET request when the button is clicked to the URL we specify, which you can see is a Magic program in our app. The program is named Clicked. And there's an HX swap attribute with value outer HTML. Now what this means is that when the button is clicked, Magic is called, and Magic returns an HTML fragment which replaces all of the HTML for the button element. Let's look at that program in Magic. So again, simple merge program. One difference here is that we have a parameter named click count, which tracks the tally that we saw of how many times the button is clicked. The HTML template the program uses has a single tag, click count, that we merge in to display to the user on each iteration. Notice we increment the value. The merge template is named clicked.html. Let's see what's going on there. It's a simple fragment. The HTML that replaces the old button is just another button with a different label, including the click count and a modified HX get attribute, which also passes the click count as argument to Magic on the next cycle. It's an HTML version of the old 80s rat song, Round and Round. One more time, let's swap to runtime mode and reload the page in the browser. Now you understand exactly what's happening. We click, we call Magic, Magic returns a new button fragment, HTMX swaps the HTML just for that element, and on we go. It's that simple. Okay, I said we'd introduce Tailwind in an upcoming episode, but what the world needs right now are prettier buttons. Let's look at what happens when we sprinkle it with a couple of minutes of Tailwind. Consider this a teaser trailer for a later video. Very nice. Next, Let's look at the click to edit demo. Here we have a table with some data fields, and we want to be able to edit that in line. So at the click of a button, we can change the text display into input fields, and then update and submit these. And we can refresh the page to see that the data has been persisted, actually in a table in the back end. Let's look at the magic code. In the click to edit program, we have a virtual where we'll hold the edit mode and some logicals that allow me to determine how to handle the various states. I use getParam to grab the past edit mode value, and if we're updating, I call an update subtask to store the values. We then call a merge task to return the appropriate page or an HTML fragment. Here I've left some debug code turned on. It won't hurt, but you can also turn this off. Let me fix that. HTMX sends some header information that we'll use later, and I was just reviewing that, creating this demo. Okay, now the merge template has various conditional tags and actual data elements. Having a single page adds a little bit of extra logic, but the advantage of having all of the HTML in one place, making it easier to manage and maintain. Let's look at the click to edit HTML template page. We have three distinct cases here. The full page, when we first call the page, and you can see the HX target and HX swap attributes on the parent div, which cascades to the child button, which has the HX get URL defined to call magic and put us into edit mode. We have other fragments that are returned when we're in edit mode, including the form and input fields, with buttons to handle submit and cancel. And there's a read-only fragment returned after we've updated, or also in the case we cancel. Next, a click to load demo that allows us to stream chunks of table data on demand. In the click to load demo program, we have some virtuals to handle pagination. The get good function you see is just a distraction, and it's used to populate an element in the table for fun. We have some merge tags to control the page structure and include the data itself. Let's see the click to load template. Nothing special, just a table with an MG repeat block. The magic here is that we have a button at the bottom as last row, which updates itself with the next set of data when clicked. The HX target is a named element, the table row replace me. And we have a fragment returned when we step through those subsequent chunks. Okay, we'll put magic back into runtime mode for a delete row demo. Now I grabbed some random list of clone trooper names to display, and the browser seems to think that it's all in Italian. Let's just dismiss that, no worries. So we have a table where we can scroll and select items to delete and remove them, not only from the display, but also the back end behind the scenes. The confirmation dialog ain't so pretty, but it's just for demo. Let's see the code behind this. In the delete row demo program, we have a main table of the clone trooper data. We track deleted item ID using getParam, but on first call, this is 0, and we simply merge and return all the data to begin. We handle the physical delete of the row in a delete record subtask. Now, in the case we're handling a delete, we don't actually need to return any data. Instead, HTMX is only looking for a valid status code response, so that it knows it can action the front-end display change. The magic requester can't actually send an empty response. That's one sure way to get an aqua screen of death from the magic requester. So instead, we simply send a single space using blob to requester. The delete row template follows the pattern we've seen, but introduces a few new things. The table tbody has an hx confirm attribute, and the hx target attribute this time contains closest tr, which hints at some real power HTMX has to easily act on events with reference to where in the DOM they're raised. The hx swap here shows how you can stack directives. We see outer HTML as before, but we also specify a delay of 1 second to allow for a CSS style fragment we have in the page to transition the opacity of the row as it is deleted. Okay, so back to runtime mode for Magic for an infinite scroll demo. So as you see, as we scroll the page, we automatically append new rows, new data, just like you might see in a Twitter or Instagram feed. Let's see how that's made. The data view for this task is entirely virtual. I'm just using the record counter to identify and populate record values. I keep track of the page number, and for the first page to begin, I return a full page that includes table headers, and for subsequent requests, as we scroll, only fragments containing the new table rows. We'll see that in the merge template. Infinite scroll to HTML is similar to what we've seen, table with an MG repeat block. What's different here is that the last row in each block of 10 has a different table row element, where I add the HTMX get and swap attributes. We use hx trigger revealed to reload new data as we scroll down. Really neat, really simple, really powerful. Hooray, we made it to the last demo. Well done for getting this far. Okay, final demo is active search. Let's take a look. We have a search box that allows us to filter the data we loaded about the clone troopers. We begin with an empty table, and as we type a search string, we'll see matching records displayed. We change the search criteria, we see a different result set, and this is presented interactively. If we search for something that doesn't exist, well, we get a no records found message. It's just slick and interactive and entirely usable. You know what's coming next. Let's see the code. The Active Search demo program is very simple. It just returns an HTML template, activesearch.html, with no modification. That gives us the basic structure of the page. You can see the template contains a table outline, but it has no table rows, just a table body with an ID of search results, where we'll place our result set when we have one. It also has an input form with a post URL resolving to the magic program called search, which we'll take a look at. The HX trigger looks a bit more complicated than usual, but really it's saying when we detect a key up event, after the input field is changed, with a grace period of 500 milliseconds so that we don't hammer with requests for each letter as we type a phrase, then we'll submit the form. The HX target is the search results section of the table below, and we have an HX indicator to display a spinner while we wait for results. The search program back in Magic processes our search request and returns the matching data. It's a simple program with a main table on the clone trooper data we imported. We grab the search criteria into a virtual with get param and use this as the range criteria. Search results.html is a small mgrepeat table row fragment that actually returns the records in the data view or a no records found message when there are no records. Simple stuff. You totally rock. Well done for following along and making it to the end of this somewhat gentle introduction to using HTMX with Magic. I think this framework has a very bright future. It's just going to make some aspects of web development cleaner, simpler, easier, and a bit like Magic, less code means less bugs. Now, we can still use as much JavaScript as we wish client-side for whatever we need, and heftier frameworks like React. But we have choices. Make choices you can live with. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.